once again. Today we're going to discuss process folders, what they are, how they're used, and why they matter. So, what is a process folder? In decisions, a process folder is a core decisions feature that is used in tracking progress throughout the duration of a business process. So it could be an approval process, it could be, a claims process. It could be any kind of process, but there are times where you would want to know exactly where you are in the process, who is handling the application, for example, or the claim. How long they've been assigned that task, how long it's been on their desk, for lack of a better term, etc. So the contents of a process folder may include tracking for any current assignments that are active and tied to the process, stored documents, configured notifications, specific account permission. So you have these statuses that you see over here, which shows exactly when the application was started, when it was submitted, what the current status is, or previous status. This is an audit trail that basically shows you who completed a particular state, the time they spent completing it, how long they spent interacting with the process, and when exactly they completed it. Process folders also allow one to attach documents. You can put in a comment with your process folder or later edit to add a comment. You can it can store assignments, etc. So how would you create a process folder? There is a step inside decisions called setup process folder, and I will show you how we will use that a little later on. Process folders are typically used with flow execution extensions. They just go very well because for flow execution extensions, you would be interested to know some of the information that is collected by the process folder. Flow execution extensions can be used to extend the capabilities of process folders by adding user-defined data to them and inside them. So to utilize this capability on the setup process folder step within a flow, there is a Boolean to use extension data. That is what we need to select to allow us to reference the the data structure or the flow execution extension. So how would we use a process folder? Process folders are one of the core functions of maintaining audit trails for state-driven processes. They can keep track of a folder state and any user comments within them. So I showed you that audit trail a few slides ago. Users can add a comment to a newly created process folder inside a flow, or retrieve a pre-existing process folder and add a comment to that record. I believe I mentioned that as well. The steps for process folders can be found under the process category in the step toolbox, or you can just, type and search if you know exactly what you're using for. But a couple of the steps that we have access to when we're using a process folder is add comment, add references, add file references to a folder, add documents, and so on. So I am going to take a pause here and go into decisions so I can show you exactly how to create and use process folders, and then we will look at assignments. So I have my flows folder open because I am going to create a flow. Now, I also created a flow execution extension data structure in the previous lesson, and I'm going to reuse it in this demonstration. So I will create a flow, which I will call process folders. Hello? And that will bring me into my flow designer. Now, as it said in the slides, you would actually be able to find, oops, I clicked on the wrong thing. You would be able to find all the steps relating to the process folder here under process. But in case you forget that, please do not forget that you can always search the step you want here inside our toolbox search. So I am going to select setup process folder because that's what I want to do right now. That's the first step to creating your process folder that you want to use. Here you can select your parent folder. This is where all the tracking information, the process tracking information is going to be stored. So you want to call it something that is going to be representative of the kind of data that will be stored in there. I previously created a person data folder. This is a regular folder. This is not a designer folder because you need a regular folder, like a Windows folder, for example. So I'm going to pick this regular folder that I created. I also want to select extension data so I can use my person that I created. Now down here, it is asking me to select my person, and I haven't actually put a person in here, but I could add an input here, that's person, and save it. And then I will be able to point this guy to my person info that I have. For my flow prefix, I want to say pers so that it, again, accurately represents what I'm trying to do. Folder description can always be constant if you want. You can just call it person info for this demo. And folder name, again, you can use a constant value, or I would prefer to use plain text so that I can specify whose application I am bringing in. So I could say info created on. And this is one of the cool things about using decisions. So we have flow data that is being collected already. We don't need to do anything to get access to our flow data, but I can use the start time and my date. And what this is going to do is save the person's name as well as the date that this would be submitted, for example. Now, what I want to do after this is to maybe pull up a form and allow us to enter the person information. So I created a form. It was a basic form that would allow someone to input their information. So what we have in there is, as you can see, city, date of birth, name, state, street address, very basic, very simple form. So I'm going to set these to ignore because I want all this information to come from the user. So real quickly, I'm going to set all this to ignore. And then I'm going to come back and specify a few things. Now, I want a few things to happen on my submit path. For example, I want to have a rule that is going to check what state the person entered into the form. I have also created a rule. It is a very simple rule that is going to check if the state that was entered is within a certain list of states that I will specify. I want my state entered to be whatever is coming out of the Hold on one quick second. I want it to be whatever is coming out of the form. So I will be pointing my flow to that in a second. Now that I have properly configured my form, I can select the state from whatever was entered into my my form. And then for the list of states, I really just want to set a constant list. So let's pick a few states in the US to add to that list. Let me see. And Texas. Awesome. So if the state that I pick is within this list of states, then I want it to do one thing. And if not, I want it to do another. So if the state is within these, then I want to set state and this will set the process state to a certain whatever state you choose. So if it's true that the state entered into the form is within that list, then I want this to set the state to, let's say, approved. And if it's not, then I want it to set the state to pending approval. Add that. So now we have two states. So it could either be approved or pending approval, depending on what is entered inside my form. Once that happens, I could decide what I want to do next. If it's approved, then maybe I just want to send an email to whoever submitted this flow and or whoever started this flow and say you are approved. So the email address is admin@decisions. That's where it's coming from. So these are attributes. These are the attributes of this email step. You have your from attribute, you have your to, whether or not it's high priority, and basically all the information you would find in a regular email. So to, I wanted to send it to me because I am the one that is submitting the application. But instead of defining this as a constant, you could also select from flow. Actually, let me do that so you can see. Now, if you want to know who submitted this information or who started this flow, Decisions uses this flow data to collect certain information so you don't have to. So in here, you can see the person who is currently accessing this, and you can also see the person who initiated this flow. So I'm going to select the initiating user email. Oh, before I do that, it's expecting a list. So if I want to select one item instead of a lot of items, I would have to build the array to break this down to a single item. And then I can select from flow now. So I want to use the initiating user email. And then once I hit done, that validation goes away. And then I want in my subject to say you're approved because that is what has happened. And the body, for the body, I'm just going to leave this as constant. Your request has been approved. So I'm going to leave this as very, very simple. But again, you have the option to merge plain text. You can attach documents to this if you want. You can merge HTML text. You can beautify your email. You can add a template. You can do whatever you want to make this email look nice. But I'm going to leave it as something very, very simple. And then once it sends that email, I want it to exit the flow. So that's what happens on the approved path. Now, when it's pending approval, I would want to do one thing, but we are going to do that a little later after we talked about our assignments. But I just kind of wanted to show you how you would set up your process folder and how you can use it to set statuses and track your statuses. Since I've done that, I'm going to save this. And then we're going to go back to our slides to talk about assignments. And then we'll be back here. Welcome back. We are going to talk about assignments now. I want to give you a clear idea of what assignments are before we get into actually using them. Assignments are tasks that allow flows to wait in a permanently paused state until acted upon by a direct user interaction or an external system. So let's think back to the flow that we were just creating. I had said that if the state is in a list, then I want to set the state to approved, and then I'll send an email and exit the flow. Now, on the false path, if the state is not within that specified list of states, I would want someone to review the application. That means that that flow is going to wait for the person to review the application, either approve or deny the application, and then it's going to exit or do something else that I say it should do. Now, running a form, the initial form, I left it as in session. Those forms are provided to the current user of the flow. So whoever initiates this flow is going to get that form pop up automatically. So they don't have to do anything. It's not going to come up in their email. It's just you started this flow, and when we went in sequential order, we reached this form, and so it's going to pop up and you are going to respond to it. And then we have assigned. So that's what I'm going to do next. This is the basic assigned form. So this gives decisions direction on who to send the form to, or who to tell to continue the process afterwards. So now I want to send an assignment to a user. So I want to pause my flow. I want to say, do not continue this until this person looks at it and does one thing or the other. So it suspends the flow, essentially, and allows whoever it is to review the process. So assignments can assign a request to a manager for approval, for example. It set a time frame for a certain task to be completed, requires that a particular form is approved by multiple people before being accepted. Now that last one, it can be approved by one person or it can be approved by multiple people. The cool thing with assignments is that you can actually assign to an individual, and I will show you how, or to assign to a group of people. Due to the persistent nature of assignments, task data is not erased and it's always accessible. Decisions actually has a backend where it stores assignments, including their statuses, whether they're current or old assignments that have already been worked. And so you can always go back to your inbox and find the assignment and work it if you haven't had the chance to. Assigned tasks take a snapshot of the current flow and steps. And so you should not move the data across environments. Otherwise, you are going to leave your flow in an error state because you've moved things around, and the remaining components look nothing like the snapshot that was taken when the assignment was made. So like I've explained, in session is basically used for data entry forms. So I want to collect a certain amount of data. I don't know what I want yet. So I'm just going to let you tell me the answers to these fields, and then I'm going to do something with it. Now the in-session form is not saved to the database because it's only active during your user session. So once you exit your session, that is it, it's done. And the form is gone. You would have to actively save the information to be able to retain whatever came out of that in-session form. So the process ends when you close out of the form. Unlike assigned types, which are saved to the database, so they're persistent, they remain active until you work on them. And like I said, it captures a snapshot of the process. So it does not necessarily end when you close your task. Now, assignments may be completed in one of several ways. You could complete your assignment in through your email via the portal. You can use through your inbox in the portal, through your email by navigating to an assignment, recording an email response, or sending an email reply. Decisions actually records these actions and sets the assignment to complete. You can also do this by API. So that's the email response. You can set the priority. You can set it to autocomplete, which case your assignment would time out and a different course of action would be taken. Decisions allows a user to set escalations for assignments. They are built-in states, so you would just need to provide, provide what you need. So for example, you can say, hey, let this assignment expire after 2 hours or after a day. Escalate this assignment if it is, if it's not handled by a certain time. So if it's on your, if it's sitting in your inbox for 3 days and you don't act on it, it might be sent to a higher up, your manager, your director, whoever, and they're going to know that you didn't work the assignment when it came to you. That's not a very good look. You should handle your assignments when they come to you. You can also set your assignments to late if it goes beyond a certain deadline. But these states or these escalations are really good because they allow you to continually prompt the user that they have assignments sitting in their inbox that have not been taken care of. So what does this look like in decisions? When I go to create an assignment, you can use your add task step input. And this will assign a task. You can assign a task to your decisions user account. You can configure your assignment name, call it whatever you want. And then you have your assignment action name, so that if you right click on the assignment and you want to work it, that is actually the name that you are going to see. I will create this example for you so that you can follow along and see what that looks like. Now, additionally, when you have a form and you go to assignment setup, so when you change it from in session to assigned, you have additional settings that are available to you for your assignment. So you have more configuration settings. You can assign to a single account or to a group or to multiple accounts. It really doesn't matter. It's whatever you want to do. And then you have, the various escalations that we talked about previously. So there are a few examples of assignments. So you can have your data entry, which is what I'm going to do. You can have an approval chain where it goes from, the submitter to say a lead, to a manager, to a director. And you can also use it for like peer-reviewed studies. So like from one person to the other, because maybe we want a second pair of eyes on the task. You can send your assignment to someone who works outside of your domain or outside of your environment in a different environment or a different company, for example, and you know, etc. So now that we've gone through assignments, I'm going to take you back into decisions and actually work that into the flow that we were working. Continuing on from where we left off. Now, on this false path, when it's pending approval, I want someone to actually look at this request that came in. So they're going to look at a form. I will use the same form just to save us some time. Oh, I need to tell it what state I'm using for that. Otherwise, it's going to blow up. All right. So for the form, I'm going to pick the same form for simplicity. And when they hit cancel, I want it to reject. And when they hit submit, I want it to approve. So on my submit path, I'm going to set my state and approve it. Actually, you know what? I am going to reuse this state so that it can do the same list of things that I want it to do, which is send out an email after the application is approved. And then this actually promotes, a clean flow, which is what we're trying to get. Now, on that cancel path is where I want to put in that denial state. So here we're going to go to denied. And now what do I want to do when it's denied? I would like to send another email to my user and say, your request has been denied or rejected. Whatever word you want to use is fine. And on my denied state, I want to set the state to denied. Here, once this is sent, I would like to exit the flow. Same configuration as before. And I can build my array so that I can input my initiating user email address. And then I can say, you're denied. And down here, your request has been denied. And then that will take care of setting up that email step. Now, coming back to this form, how do we make it different from the in-session form that we created? For the assignment type, first of all, we are going to change it to assigned. Now, you have additional options to assign to a guest, assign to a main session. A guest would be helpful if the person is outside of your organization, for example. They don't need an account. You just want them to work this and return it to you. But I'm going to leave it as assigned. Now, assigned to, I'm going to leave it blank because I want to use this assignment setup to actually determine where this assignment should go. For assignment name, I will leave it as review request, even though it's not actually a request. And then for assignment action names, I can say work this assignment. It's a very long name, but oh well. Actually, no, I'm going to swap this. Work this assignment here and then review request here, because it makes sense for the shorter name to be the action name. And then I go here to my assignment setup right here. Now here is where you can select who you want to work this assignment. Now you can select a constant, you can select from flow. Sometimes you'd be able to retrieve a group and then make reference to that group by just selecting from flow. But in this case, I am just going to build an array so that I can send it to myself. Right here. And you can also, if you want to make this a little more rigid, you can exclude certain accounts and groups from getting this. So if you wanted to send it to an entire group, you can restrict a few people from seeing the assignment, even though they are inside the group. You can specify the folder type if you want, whether it should be from Flow or you want to select the folder. I could select it and pick that person data folder that I created, or I can leave it not specified, or I can pick it from a flow. I can do whatever else I want. You can give a description to your assignment, the type description. You can set a priority. You can show your assigned form. You can set it to never. You can set it always. Make it dynamic. You can specify the assignment dates if you want. So specify start date. You can actually put in a date. And then on what date do you want to escalate? You can say that. How long until you expire the form? You can do that. You can specify when the form is going to be late. And you can also have assignment events. So you can have a start flow type. You can have a shared flow or private flow. You can reuse the assignment. You can save the form result view, which I want to do. So I'm going to leave all this and I'm going to exit that. So you notice the difference between the in-session form and the assigned form. Here it looks like the form has a checklist on it, whereas here it's just some blank boxes. But this flow is done and I am going in here to debug it, and I will show you the difference between the in-session form and the assigned form once this is in debug. So here it gives me the chance to enter my name. I did not have to do anything. All I had to do was just initiate the flow, start the flow. Now for date of birth, I don't have any validations here, so it's really just going to accept whatever I tell it to accept. So let's say I was born in 1937. I will give it an address. 1 Falcon Drive. Suite 10. And now I could show you each of these paths and what they're going to look like. So let's do that. First, I'm going to choose Virginia. So it goes down the true path and we can see what happens. And then I'm going to go down the false path. So when I submit that, it goes down the approved path, it sends that email, and then nothing else happens. And then I'm going to start another session so I can take it down the false path and we will see what happens then. So again, I am going to, now I'm just going to enter it in here because we have the ability to do that. And then here, put in my address again. And there's no address too. Well, actually, let me just put something in there. Apartment 5 and Mount Airy. Florida. Okay, so once I hit submit, since it wasn't in that list of strings, and here, let me show you the results of the rule. I entered Florida. It's not in this list, so it's going to return false, and it's going to go down this false path. So currently, my application is set to pending approval, which pops up this form because I assigned it to myself. Now it's saying review this information and do something about it. So I am going to go into the process folder and you can see what happened here. So this is the very first application that I created. When I click on it, it shows you that it went down the approved path really simply. It gives you the, this is the current status. So when it started, it didn't go through any other step. It just went to approved, and that was that. For the second application that I submitted, it went down the false path and to pending approval, which is what this is waiting on currently. So if I approve it, then it's going to change. It's going to update the state over here. It's going to add another state to approved. And then it's going to send the email and complete the process. If I select cancel, then it's going to set the state to denied, and it's going to send that email, and then it's going to end the flow. So since we've seen the approved path, I'm going to go down the denied path. And then it sends that email and it's done. Now, what happens here is that that assignment that was created in here went away, and this got updated. So we have our started state, we have pending approval, and we have denied. And you can see it says the process was manually ended, even though, you know, it was worked all the way to the end. And then updated. So this is what assignments look like. This is what using a process folder tells you. It captures the entire history of the process, right from when you started to where it ends up eventually, which is the current state. If there are any questions, we would be very happy to help you. So please let us know and we will take care of you. Thank you so much.